Searching for Cinderella. That's what we're doing around this time of the year. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForrest. That handsome gentleman over there who had a night of horrors, much like I did, although for reasons that were far more serious and inclined to create anxiety, is Troy West of Troy Wins. And yeah, it was a rough one. You're texting me, and Troy originates from Seattle, Washington. I'm here in South Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. And so there's 3 hour time difference. And I'm thinking, what is this cat doing up at 3 in the morning? That's incredible. So hope everything's okay. It all worked out all right. Or is that anxiety over your Gonzaga Zags
Oh
covering these
gosh, a
three and a
little
half?
bit of both. Thinking about the tournament, selection Sunday, all sorts of stuff going on. So, uh, you don't sleep this time of year, Defo. There's too much to gamble on, too much to get going on.
Well, and I love the so-called weenie conference tournaments, and I love the automatic bid. People have been crying about that, fetching about it, as we say in the Jewish tribal language here, for forever. Saying, "Oh, well, you know what? These horrible teams get in, and it robs a deserving team of highly paid professional athletes now from having their chance to go out there and win a college championship, so some coach can make $1 zillion." I love it. I mean, it's grassroots stuff, right? You would bring your team to the park and maybe you never were able to beat the top dog there, so you had to go down to the secondary court and shoot baskets with the father who was playing with his 6-year-old son. Hey, mind if we run with you? And here these teams get an opportunity to do it, to knock off a Goliath, and often they do now. So a couple of great stories. I mean, what was more fun than watching Fairleigh Dickinson beat Purdue a couple of years ago? And I mean that was monumental, and they go on to win another game, and you're thinking, my God, this is crazy. Or even a local story here 2 years back, FAU, Dusty May, who all of a sudden now, because of his run there with FAU to a Final Four and a completely improbable program to take into that depth of the tournament, he's barely used to looking at himself in maize and blue, and they're already talking about giving him the Indiana job at whatever name your price. So the tournament makes a lot of great stories. Who would have ever heard of Jimmer Fredette? What are some of your favorite things about sort of these early stages where we're getting the qualifiers? I'm searching for Cinderella. That's what I'm doing, Troy. I don't know if you see anything there yet.
There's a lot of fun teams out there. One of them goes today. McNeese plays Lamar. This is a McNeese team, 26-6, 19-1 in conference. Norfolk State, they were a good story a couple years ago as well. They're a fun team to watch. Their tournament kicks off today in the MEAC tournament. They're 21-10, 11-3. I don't know if you want to call them Cinderella, but man, Drake is playing really good basketball. They've kind of slipped under the radar. I think they're 28-3 now. They beat a really good Bradley team, who I was telling you about last week. Bradley, they take them down in the championship, so I think ultimately that might knock Bradley out of their tournament. But man, there's some good teams out there. Uh, we talk about Rick Pitino. How about his son? I mean, what a fantastic job he's done at
Yeah.
New Mexico. That's another team to watch. So you're right. These tournaments are fun. It's kind of interesting to see, and um, there's so much put into them because even if you have this fantastic season and you go 21 and 10 or whatever, unless you win that small tournament, you're probably not getting in. So a lot to watch this week.
Yeah, it was great. St. Francis, under those circumstances, a city of like 1,100 people is where the school is located in Pennsylvania. It's a schmanky town out in the middle of nowhere, and they get into the tournament for only the second time in school history. St. Francis. They have zero NIL money. There's a guy named Rob Krimmel, who was a player there and then has been a coach for like 20 years. They break a 34-year drought of going to the NCAA tournament. I believe it's their second time. On February 19th, they were 10-17 and last in the conference. So they somehow climb the ladder and end up winning their tournament. They get the automatic bid and they shut out a bunch of other teams. But that's the way it's structured, and that's what makes it exciting. You're one and done. It's survive and move on. And what we've seen this happen. They were on the road against Central Connecticut, as Central Connecticut, I guess, had a home game for this particular tournament contest, and ended up losing to St. Francis. But Drake is a team that was also mentioned by our good friend Jim Larinaga, who I had on a show yesterday, formerly the coach. Of course, two Final Fours, one with George Mason. So if anybody knows Cinderella and can sniff one out, it's Larinaga. And like great minds think alike, my friend.
Mhm,
An
mhm.
empirical basketball truth. It seems like you're united with many other people whose basketball opinion I respect greatly, saying Drake might be that team that we're looking at. If you're betting these games, and look, everybody's betting their brains out right now on all of this stuff. Are they not, Troy? I mean, how many calls are you getting every day from people saying, "Hey, who do you like? Who do you like?" And you're saying, well, you could subscribe to the service here, $7 stinking. That's all I'm asking for, and get all kinds of great selections. But if you're betting the games, Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform. Your number one source for online betting in 2025. If you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, doesn't matter. Bet Online, your ultimate game day companion. Did you ever think you'd be watching games just sitting there with a phone, clicking bets away? I mean, you're a young
I
man.
try to, even a guy like myself, I try to stay away from that. That can get so dangerous so quick. So I'm still old school, drive in, go in with some cash and walk up to the window, put my
Oh,
best
nice.
bets of the day and get out just because, man, it could get dangerous having it in the tip of your fingers.
Yeah, well, when your kids aren't old enough yet, but when my son called me from college and said somehow somebody had snatched out of his bank account the tuition money I just sent him, did it arouse any suspicion that perhaps he was being brainwashed by the advent of online poker?
Hmm.
Possibly so.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Chan was walking away with his money. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the NBA, college basketball, the NHL, UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so are you gargling with Visine? How are you following all of this action? And what always amazes me about the many good people that we have on the show, including, of course, the Wednesday appearances of one Troy West, is your knowledge of teams that would be completely obscure. Is that just enhanced by the idea that A, it's the tournament time, or B, that these are very viable betting propositions and that you may be able to get an edge if you know something about one or the other of the two teams?
Yeah, I think it's a good time to bet just because when you look at several teams, I'm not going to sit here and make it hypothetical to be true, but so many of these teams have already locked in their spot, right? And do they really care if they're a 5, an 8, a 9, a 10? I think there's some value to avoiding the 8, 9 seed, but I just for me, I like to take these underdog bubble teams that really got to win a game or two in the tournament to lock in their spot in the NCAA tournament. So I'm looking for those type of teams. Like you look at Ohio State. Are they on the bubble at 17 and 14? Do they need to get a couple in the Big Ten tournament? Oregon's another team. There's just several teams out there. Texas, Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt goes today. They're at 20 and 11. They play Texas. I like following those type of teams and going, okay, these they need to get a game or two to move on. And those are the teams I like to follow this time of year.
All right, and I would imagine that you're already finding a couple of sweet spots there because there's so much action. I mean, you don't even know where to begin on any given day. I would imagine, and you're on the West Coast there. What did your daughter wake you up just in time to catch like the opening tip off for one of the East Coast games?
Yeah, it looks like we've got Davidson and Richmond tipping off at 8:30 this morning. And it kind of feels like March Madness. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, that's gonna be a good game too. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, a lot of early tips. It kind of has a March Madness type of feel right now.
Now, what's the name of the casino where you're betting there in Seattle? There's only one place where you can go and do this. Is that correct?
So we've got about five in the state. The place I go is called Angels of the Wind.
Angels
Beautiful
of the Wind,
complex.
as
Angels
in
of
your
the
money
Wind.
gets tossed up there as if you were a golfer throwing up a blade of grass and.
Exactly right. And we do have the infamous DraftKings here. So you can walk in and you've got the full DraftKings sportsbook as well.
Okay, so but and can you or can you not bet online? Is that legal in the state of Washington?
You got to be on the property. So you could technically pull up your car and place it in your car, but you've got to be on the property connected to their Wi-Fi, believe it or not, which is kind of funny.
It's amazing. It's baffling. I mean, Florida's always been ass backwards when it comes to any kind of legislation involving gambling. They were in the Stone Age when it came to horse racing for many, many years, really impeding any chance they had at the time to compete and stay in action. They didn't allow minors into the track. They didn't have racing on Sunday. I mean, a lot of primitive, prehistoric Cro-Magnon man type of laws. But you would think that the way that FanDuel and DraftKings have literally taken over the media and the universe, how could they not have attorneys, a battery of attorneys who could eliminate some of these restrictions? Especially,
Crazy.
you would have to think that with some of the deals that are made, I mean, how shady do some of these deals look? Where, in the case of Florida, for example, nothing against them, they managed to pull it off, but the Seminole tribe got exclusive rights to sports betting and is the only place among the many parimutuel facilities that were turned into casinos where you can actually play table games, live table games. And I don't know how you feel. Are you a blackjack player? I don't know how you feel about playing against one of those virtual machines. Don't you feel like you were destined that these games are programmed for not necessarily in favor of the player?
100%. I've always felt that way. I mean, every once in a while, obviously, you're catching the big win out there. But my gosh, no, I you really wonder what's going into the programming on those things and what the
Yeah.
odds are. If you're going to sit there for an hour, the odds of walking away with any sort of money is, that's for sure.
Well, I just wonder. I mean, when are all of these barriers going to be? Perhaps an executive order is in need here, where all of these barriers to gambling that make it so peculiar in different areas where this is legal here, but it's not there. Remember when New York had not passed the laws about sports gambling, and guys would go run halfway across the bridge, put one foot in New Jersey, and then start punching away and making their bets for the day. So you would think eventually they would just work it out, so you could do whatever you want virtually anywhere. All right, you want to get into some stuff for tonight?
Let's do it. I've got a few things for you. My first one is a 12:30 tip off. It's in the SEC tournament. Vanderbilt. We talked about them earlier. They're 20-11, 8-10 in conference, going up against Texas. They're only laying 2.5. Give me Vanderbilt. That's a team to me that's probably on the bubble. That's a good basketball team. They've got some pretty big wins. Give me Vanderbilt in that game. I just think they're the better team. Neutral floor. They play much better at home. But give me Vanderbilt there. And I'm going to go with Baylor. Baylor's been the disappointment of the Big 12 this year. They're preseason ranked top 10. They're at 18-13, 10-10 now. They're -6.5 against Kansas State. Give me Baylor to get the job done. K State's playing a little bit better, but Baylor, man, they need this game in a bad way. Give me Baylor minus the points. And then I'll go to the Big Ten. I'm going to take Rutgers. Rutgers -1.5. They're 5:30 tip off. They're going up against USC. Rutgers, boy, another disappointing team. You've got two guys that are potential lottery picks, and you can't go 500. We'll see if they pick it up in the tournament. I like Rutgers today. USC's not a very good team. Give me Rutgers minus the points, and then I'll give you one NBA game just because I'm feeling nice today. NBA's been tricky as of late. I mean, my gosh, you look at the way the Lakers are banged up, all these teams, but um, give me the Thunder. The Thunder are getting 3.5 today at the Celtics. 24-7 on the road, 53-12. You're going to give me 3.5 points. I'll take the Thunder. That's going to be a close game. Looking forward to that. That's probably an NBA Finals preview, but give me the Thunder.
A bold step there, stepping out there in an NBA game. We saw one the other night. We were talking about it here, where you were getting 17 and a half with Utah against the
Yeah.
Boston Celtics. And the Celtics were sandwiched in between playing, the Cavaliers and Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And they have this night where all they have to do is grind out the W, which is exactly what they did. And they won the game by 6, but which would be a comfortable margin in most NBA games, except for the fact that it was Boston versus Utah laying 17 and a half. So that was, I mean, once in a while, Troy West, don't you feel like you get a gift from the gods of gambling that they just look down on you and say, you're going to be able to unload those shares, my friend. Don't worry about a thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's all
You
going to.
do. No, you do. I mean, the NBA is such a. By the way, I did have the Milwaukee Bucks -2.5 yesterday.
Oh my
Uh,
God! I mean, only Doc
so
Rivers could surrender a 4-point play at the buzzer.
unbelievable. And call me crazy, but I'm sitting there looking at it, I don't know how that was a foul. Um, I know they don't like that closeout deal, but
Yeah,
that one did hurt. But no, you're right. I mean, Vegas does put those games out. That's why I think if you're really going to make it in sports betting long term, you've got to pick those spots and hammer them when they come out. Because you're right. I mean, that looked juicy as heck. Celtics, and the Celtics are that prototype team that just does not get up for those type of games. So
All
that
season they've
looked
been
really
like
good.
that. Yeah, I
Yep,
mean,
all season.
they play the, I mean, this is bottom dwellers, bag ladies by NBA standards, Utah Jazz. I mean, where's the mailman in Stockton? They're not around anymore. It's been a long time. And they couldn't be any more pathetic. And you're thinking, they might be in tank mode. I don't know how they're playing it, but 17 and a half is a ton of points in a game that the Celtics aren't going to care too much about. So, and probably figure that they win in hand. I know this. I'm salivating here because I have a guy with me on the show, Troy West, who not only is an expert on college basketball, not only will delve into the NBA and come up with some very viable trends and things to look at, but is also as much of a diehard degenerate golf better as I am.
Yes.
Now, I have a prop question for you, and then we'll get into this thing because the TPC, I believe there's only one hole on the whole course. That's all. All anybody knows is a signature hole, the par three with the water everywhere. And you're a golfer. How crazy is it? Have you ever played an island hole of that variety?
Not of that status. No, I've played several island holes, but not one of that stature. No, that's a signature hole to say the least.
Guy hits a perfect shot. I mean, he pops a 9 iron in there, and it lands 10 feet from the cup with the forward motion that it's going to get even closer. But instead, it takes a giant hop as if it was, a ground ball to shortstop that hit a rock and goes right into the water on the other side of the green. Perfect shot. There's nothing more frustrating, I would imagine, than hitting a perfect shot and having it result in catastrophe where you shoot yourself out of the tournament. All right, so I'm in this pool, and I love this thing and they usually do it around the majors, but other tournaments of stature like this one, always fun. And they make 7 lists of about 10 guys. All right, one guy from each list, and they're categorized so that you can't have like Scheffler, McElroy, and Morikawa. So actually, you have to pick on one list between those three. I'm going to disregard the rest of the people on the list. They may play better, but I'm thinking everybody in the pool is taking one of these 3 guys unless they're really sharp. Who would you take right now between Scheffler, McElroy, and Morikawa? And I would imagine you could make a prop bet on that, which is another fascinating aspect about golf. Scheffler's favored to win the tournament. I think he's like a shade over 3-1. But who would you take of those 3 at the TPC?
You know, I hate to say it, but I probably go Morikawa, and I understand that he. I don't want to say he blew it. Henley, let's just say Henley got lucky last week. I'm not going to say Morikawa choked that one away. He's playing
Nah,
really
not
good
really. You
golf.
can't say that. Yeah,
Yeah,
guy
he
hits a
seems to like
miracle
it out
shot.
there. I think the course plays to his game. I'd probably lean Morikawa, although it does kind of feel like it's Scotty Scheffler's weekend in a weird
Doesn't
way. It kind of
Scheffler
does.
seem like he's building up to? I mean, he comes right off of that bizarre O.J. Simpson cut my hand incident with a
Yeah,
glass, and different circumstances. He's
yeah,
cooking. O.J.'s running from a murder rap, but he comes right out of the shoot and he's fine.
yep,
Nothing, seems to bother this guy. I mean, he has no personality, so there's. I don't think he has any emotional fiber in his body, does he? Just solid as a rock. But it seems like he's been flirting what top 10 almost every week.
yep. He has. Yep. It kind
With
of feels
rookie
like he's
streak.
going to pop this weekend. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow to kind of see where he's at in that board.
All right, so you're getting some phenomenal prices on some other guys, though. I don't know if you're inclined to just take a guy to win the whole thing. That was a choice I had to make for a pool. But yeah, the odds are enormous on a couple of guys. Do you have any thoughts on the TPC? Will you be dabbling with a few dollars on a couple of different players at like 50-1?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we were talking yesterday. We have an entire golf team here at TroyWins.com, and one of the guys we really liked is Sepp Straka, 50-1. I mean, my
There
God,
you
the guy's
go.
played
We're on the
phenomenal
same page.
golf this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 50-1 for a guy that's won a couple of tournaments this year. He's playing really good golf. I think his game
He
plays
was
great to
there
this
last
course.
week too. He was right in.
Yes, yeah. So Straka's one that looks pretty juicy. He hasn't been playing good golf, but I'll be kind of curious how Brian Harmon comes out. and where he's at. Cam Davis is playing pretty good golf. Lot of names that could, you just never know. This is a great tournament. Looking forward to it. Tommy Fleetwood. He's not getting quite 50-1, but Tommy Fleetwood's also a name to keep an eye on.
Tommy never wins, though, man. I think he's like the
Doesn't.
Monty of modern day golf, where he never won on American soil. Is that true? I believe it is.
It might be true.
Tommy
Yes.
Fleetwood Mac, who is an easy guy to root for because he's got the hair thing going on. But I was on board with you with Sepp Straka. I'm thinking 55-1. I saw on this guy. Why not? I mean, even if you floated $20 on that to win 1,100, could you feel that badly if he
No
didn't?
doubt.
Now, how much do you take into account? Because you would want to study naturally the history. Is that the kid you have to attend to?
Yeah, pretty quick.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, one last thing then. The course and there are horses for courses, and you're thinking, all right, who's good at TPC? How much do you take that into account?
Oh, absolutely. I think, you got to look at, and this is a little bit above my pay grade. We have other guys that look into this for you, but you're looking at how they put on certain grasses. In terms of, Rory plays better at those bombs away type of courses, those link style courses. I'm not sure if this fits his game as well as other courses do. So you're definitely looking at that, and figured out, weather plays a factor, right? Certain guys love playing on the West Coast, certain guys love playing in, Ireland, and certain guys love playing in Florida. So that
Yeah.
definitely plays a factor as well.
No doubt, yeah. There were always guys that did very well here, and a lot of them lived in Florida, so that made all the difference. All right, Troy, I'll let you run because you obviously have business to attend to here. I appreciate you getting up early for the kid and for the show, and thanks so much for joining us. Troy Wins, how do we find you real quick?
Yeah, get to the website, troywins.com. Next week, when I'm with you, Defo, we will have a special announcement. So I'm looking forward to next week. We will have a special announcement. The Instagram is It's Troy West. We'll have tons of stuff for you this weekend with tournaments, golf, live golf betting, all sorts of stuff. It's troywins.com.
All right, sounds good. Your fans are screaming for you, so I'll let
Yes.
you go. Thanks so much for being with us, Troy. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
Troy
Appreciate it.
West, ladies and gentlemen. All right, that's going to do it. Had some college picks for you. Troy West did, and throwing out Oklahoma City getting 3.5 in the NBA. Was looking at some very bizarre games earlier on the show, but ended up going with Vanderbilt minus 2.5 over Texas. Baylor laying 6.5 in their ball game against Kansas State, and Rutgers. Very disappointing season for the what are they, the Scarlet Knights? Minus 1.5, laying 1.5. Three chalk plays there from Troy West. Very unusual, but Rutgers over USC also likes the angle of teams that need to win a couple of games in the tournament to possibly, or in their conference tournament to qualify for the NCAA tournament to be worth a serious look. And we've seen that. As he was talking about that, I was picturing my man Jimmy Boeheim from Syracuse whining and bitching about how the committee is an atrocity and how the bias is so strong that Syracuse can never catch a break, even though they caught many over the years. But they would be left out of the tournament as a bubble team after winning a couple of games in their conference tournament. And Jimmy B was beside himself, apoplectic, as they say. Hopefully, you'll be making a lot of winning wagers. Get some insight. Watch these games. It's always interesting. That Drake thing has come up a couple of times, including with a guy who is a veritable basketball treasure chest that we talked to on another show, a show called Conversations. You can catch that on Bleacher Brothers, Jim Larinaga. And we were asking him about some of these teams. As the guy took George Mason to the Final Four, took the University of Miami there as well, and was a longtime coach, huge basketball insights, and a great guy, a man of tremendous integrity. Just left the team this year saying, hey, I can't do this with this NIL. They're driving me crazy. Guys that can't even play are asking me for $500,000. And we just don't have it, my friends. So that's changed the dynamic of a guy that, as I said, tremendous integrity in terms of respect for the game of basketball. But he liked Drake, as did Troy West. Drake. So we're going to go Drake, maybe to win a game in the tournament, and Sepp Straka. Right now, preliminary pick at like 55-1, a big fat payoff, if we're right about this one, to win the Tournament Players Championship. He's knocking on the door. So don't be afraid. All right, for the people that bet online, for Troy West, I'm Jeff DeForrest. Thanks so much for tuning in. All the people, always thankful to the people at NoFilter.net for what they do for us here on the show and Greenlight Ventures. We will see you tomorrow with the next edition of Bury Your Bookie.